Thank you for your interest in the Retained Recruiter Show, powered by iIntro. Before the show starts, I have a small favour to ask of you. Our goal is to provide you with the most insightful, helpful and practical recruitment knowledge and know-how from the best in the recruitment industry. If you like this channel and enjoy watching our content, hit the subscribe button to get notified as soon as we upload a new episode. Thank you again, and as ever, we're rooting for your success. Now, time for the show.
Hi everybody and welcome to the Retained Recruiter Show. My name is Jo and I am sat where James normally is, and as you can see I'm not on my own, but for the eagle-eyed viewers amongst you, you can see this is not James O'Brien. This is in fact Ian Knowlson. How are you doing, Ian?
I'm doing great, Jo. How are you?
Good. Yeah, good. Good. Thank you. Yes. I'm really glad to have you on. So I'm not talking to myself because nobody wants 30 minutes of that. But we've got a massive topic coming up today. And I think this is a real kind of agenda point for a lot of businesses. And I think there's a lot more questions than there are maybe answers around the whole subject of AI. So we're going to be talking about AI, understanding AI for your business. So if you are a recruitment business owner, a recruitment leader, then we're going to talk about AI, what it is, where it comes from, where it's going, and what you can do with it at the moment. So that's what we're going to talk about. But before we do that, I have known Ian for a very long time. Yes, we won't disclose how many years we've known each other for, but yes, we've known each other for a very long time. So I could have probably given you a bio of my own. However, I'm going to go with the official version. Are you ready, Ian? So I'm going to introduce Ian to you. So Ian Knowlson is a recruitment industry NED. He's a growth coach and a business mentor. He utilizes his, shall I say how many years? It says 39 plus.
Yeah.
So we can, you can add whatever you want on with the plus, but 39 years experience establishing and growing businesses in the recruitment sector. Since leaving Hays in 2011, Ian has supported, so many businesses, easily over 50, but hundreds and hundreds of recruitment businesses I know that you've worked with, to achieve growth rates of anywhere between 30 to 300%. And as a member of APSCO's representative committee and one of their strategic advisors, Ian regularly speaks and presents at industry events and is an employment futurist, which I love. I'm going to get you a badge, with his insights into how talent and recruitment sector is changing. Named by Onalytica, that's right, isn't it? Onalytica, as one of their top 10 global business influencers for the future of work and talent recruitment. He regularly speaks on the impact of technology changes on the employment sector at conferences and seminars all over the place. Recently, Ian's become involved with numerous discussions and projects around artificial intelligence, particularly the impacts that's having on the recruitment industry, and particularly over the next 5 years. Ian is also, because, there's so much more to you, Ian, but the other side of Ian is that Ian is an NLP master practitioner, and Ian's passion is helping individuals and businesses achieve their true potential. So the synergy of the people and the technology there. Ian lives in Cheshire, which is good. He's married with 4 children and 2 grandchildren. I know he doesn't look that old. He's a qualified FA coach, if anyone's looking for one, keen gardener and a golfer. And I don't know whether to say this bit, but he is a Liverpool supporter. So if anybody does want to unsubscribe now, then please feel free. And I know for a fact that Ian is very active in his local community as well. So he's found time to come and spend the next 27 minutes with us to talk about AI. So we appreciate you, Ian, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Jo. And it's absolutely wonderful to be with you today, even though we're not physically in the same room. But, we've known each other, you say, a long time. And every conversation with you is always interesting and revealing. And you always ask some really direct and poignant questions. So this should be quite good fun.
Well, we'll see. We will see, won't we? Right, let's get cracking. So we've got about 25 minutes to try and cover the topic of AI, which is enormous. This is what happens when you get 2 trainers in a room. One of them will always bring a slideshow with them. So Ian, would you like to show your slideshow? Ian has produced some slides, which I think is great because we've got quite a lot of stats and data to go through. Ian, based on the research that you've been doing and the work you've been doing over the past few years, give us your general overview then on this topic.
Okay. So we've picked a topic which is understanding the impact of AI on your recruitment businesses. So this is specifically designed to do that. So okay, it's not letting me. Oh, here we go. There we go. Right. So you asked me to give you a bit of background. AI has been around since the 1950s. The picture on your right is of Alan Turing, who was a code breaker in the war years, and he worked with another guy to look at or started looking at how humans could basically, you could mimic and recreate human intelligence. Obviously, we then moved on to look at things like rule-based systems, which is where you basically create a set of rules around contingencies. So if A happens, you either do B or C, depending on certain variables. And that was happening around about the 60s. Then we moved into what's called data-driven machine learning. So that is probably where some people think artificial intelligence really starts to begin. So what we mean by that is where the machine itself learns from its own experiences and feeds the data back in. And that started probably in around about the 1980s, 1990s, with high-speed chips, with microprocessors, with supercomputers. And there was a whole raft of applications, including defense, meteorology, data around retail. Retail grasped it for quite a while. But now we're into the current type, where we're looking at what are called neural networks and deep learning. And today, AI is used in a vast number of industries. There are huge examples in the healthcare sector where, for example, artificial intelligence can review scans of the human brain or cardiology reports and give better, if not more accurate, readings, and in a faster time than doctors and consultants. And this kind of brings me to where we are in the recruitment space, because this allows there are two types of use of artificial intelligence. One is what's called automation, where you literally take a process that's done by a human and you replace it with a computer. And we've had those kind of automations going since the Victorian era, when, living in the Northwest, Joe, as you and I will know, that we've got the lovely old mills around Manchester, the old style mill, where you can see how the first weaving and knitting systems, began. And the same is happening in what is called the knowledge-based sector. So to bring us to where we are now, the first thing is automation. The second thing is what's called augmentation. That's where you use the knowledge from the computer or the information from the computer to make your lives easier. And that's what we're going to talk a lot about today. Mm-hmm. So what I thought would be good to do is just share with you, because one of the questions I'm always asked, does that mean we're all going to lose our jobs? And the very simple answer is no. However, what will happen is numbers of the tasks and things that we do will be done better by a computer, and so you won't do those things anymore. Mm-hmm. And there are certain qualities that we do better. So emotional intelligence, we are better at reading other human beings' behaviors, their thought processes, to subconsciously understand, second guess what decisions they're likely to make. There's a lot being said about emotional intelligence, and you and I have done many a workshop or a classroom session where we're teaching people about the benefits of emotional intelligence, particularly in leadership. And that's not going to go away. So, computers can analyze, humans, what you and I would call eye accessing cues. So where our eyes go when we're asked a question, where we go to retrieve the information, which allows us to read people. It can read body language, but not necessarily in an intuitive way. It can only do it in an automated way. And so you can trick it if you set out to. Emotional support, we're much better as people, at giving caring and empathy and love and affection and support, emotional support. So I don't see that changing. Original thought, my daughter's a fashion designer. This time of year, in fact, not this time of year, she's launched her autumn collection. That's gone out. But one of the things she will have done, or some other fashion designers do, is maybe go for a walk in a wood in an autumn season. Look at the colours, look at the shapes, and how could you use that to create ideas and thoughts and concepts around fashion design. That's original thought. Computers are not very good at that. I'm not saying they can't do it, but at the moment they're not very good at it. abstract concepts, that's where two things which don't necessarily align perfectly, humans are much better at understanding that. We're good at critical thinking. We're good at decision making. We're good at creating strategy. And, so business strategy, which is why this is about leaders. As leaders, we need to understand that AI can support our predictions around data and what the market might do in the future. But actually, it requires a visionary and someone to integrate all of these things, a bit of original thought, a bit of abstract concept. And then the final two is where you've got things that conflict. So let's think about a candidate changing their job, and there are two things that they're weighing up. One might be, well, my salary is not where I want it to be, but the job has more interest and has more promotion prospects. And humans are far better at understanding and empathizing and persuading. And my summary of that is that what in the recruitment process we do best is those touch points where we talk to people, where we interact with people, where you're selling a job, where you're going through an offer, when you're getting the feedback from a candidate on how the interview went, when you're assessing the candidate at interview, whether they are credible or not, how they project themselves. Those are the bits that we do really well. So I've spent the last few months, Joe, working with a number of people in AI. Some I've signed NDA, so I can't say. There's one young man who I am working with currently, and those people who were at the Rec Expo last week will have met him, and that's Toby. Now, Toby's in his early 20s. He's been a recruitment consultant for 2 or 3 years, and he's fascinated by all of this. And he's now got permission from his bosses to basically use AI to make himself more productive. And he's moving away from being a recruitment consultant and moving towards being an AI. In fact, he is already an AI expert, and he is working with companies to automate their processes. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that Toby and I have done is, and this is what the next slide is, we've looked at all of the processes, or he's looked at all the processes, and we've summarized them in 5 areas, things that you'll be familiar with. So finding candidates, finding jobs for us to resource, finding candidates, matching candidates, speccing out candidates, and then that highly human element of managing the client and managing the candidate. And I don't see a lot of these. Some of these tasks may be replaced. So it's possible to get AI to write a good advert, and I've seen it. You can get AI to work as a chatbot and prep a candidate on interview questions. In fact, it was frighteningly good when Toby demonstrated the one he's created. But AI will only support processes that are going on here in a lot of other cases. So I got, with Toby's permission, I pinched one of his slides which it shows where the productivity savings can come in, and I'd like to kind of share that one with you next. So Toby uses what are called AI agents. So to you and I, that means a script that we've written in ChatGPT is something that everybody will be familiar with. But Toby uses about 15 artificial intelligence tools to produce his presentations, to record his meetings, to summarize his meetings, to produce documents that go out. And if you look at the traditional process on the left-hand side, this is where we make a qualification call to a candidate. We talk to them about the job. If you're doing your job properly, Joe, 20 to 30 minutes for a conversation with a good permanent candidate, do you reckon? That's what I always reckon. If someone's selling a permanent job to a candidate and they don't talk to them properly and they only talk 5 minutes, then they're not going to get that. They're not going to build that psychological contract you and I would talk about, would you?
No, exactly. No, I think about 20 minutes is about average would be good. Yeah.
So he reckons 20 minutes, and you can see on the AI assisted process, it's the same. So he's not suggesting that would be any better. It would be any less. Mm-hmm. Taking notes on the call. Now, Toby has a slight dyslexic disability. So taking notes for him requires an awful lot of his mental brain power, which means he can't concentrate as much. So using a note taker, and he's been using it now for several months, and every time he's on a call, he says to the candidate, I've got an AI note taker. Do you mind if I use it? Never has a problem. Now, that taking a notes and writing detailed notes afterwards onto your CRM, I don't know, that can take 5 minutes easily. If you then have to prep the candidate's CV, that's 20 minutes. And if you then have to create an email to send to a client, it's 15 minutes. So that's a 1 hour process for one candidate. If you've got 6 candidates as part of your KPI in the week, that's an hour. So that's an hour. Using Toby's AI note-taking assistant, he's then written an AI agent to take those notes and put them onto the CRM he uses, but that could be, it's not Bullhorn, but he uses JobAdder, so it's JobAdder, but it could be Bullhorn, it could be, there's a whole raft of others, and some of these have them anyway. He then has an AI that literally takes 2 minutes to prep the candidate's CV and produce a front sheet, because some of his clients specifically want the data presented in a certain way. And to write an email, again, it takes his tone of voice, it puts in key information. That's 2 minutes. So his AI assisted process takes 24 minutes. So that's 2.5 hours. So there you go. He's in that process. He's saved what? He's saved 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you think about it as well, Ian, and Toby is in the chat as well. Well, he's not in the chat. He's watching. So hi, Toby. Or we think it's Toby. Maybe Toby's AI. Who knows? Who knows? Can we tell the difference? But good to see you. And thanks everyone in the comments. If anyone's got any questions in the comments, by the way, please feel free to put them in there. Yeah. What's interesting about when we look at this sheet, and this is us just taking a really small cross section of the recruitment process and the functions that we have to do as recruiters. Yeah. The two things that I think recruiters are challenged by is the heavy amounts of admin that they have to do. So CRM-based admin, note-taking, adding notes code, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And also the creation of content to send out to candidates and clients in order to sell one to the other and so on and so forth. And so what you're doing here is you're taking away all of that admin, all of the non-fee earning or the lesser fee earning stuff, and giving it to AI. I mean, I know you use one. We use one. I've got an AI. It attaches to every training session that we do, every coaching session that we do. It creates a summary. It creates notes and action points and insights and thinking points afterwards. And it's incredible. And the amount of time that it has saved me in writing up of notes and emailing of action plans is amazing. It even attaches itself into the coaching session, the next coaching session in the diary. So I know it's there. It's Absolutely. Amazing, but I'm not using it to replace me. I'm using it to enhance me. And I think that's what you're saying here, isn't it? There's parts of the process that rely on people still, the consultative part, which we're so passionate about, but there's a lot of it where we don't need to be there. Well, we don't need to be at the forefront of it.
Absolutely. And as leaders, there could be a quality issue here. So what's produced by AI needs to be reviewed by a qualified person. You can't take a non-qualified person and just give them AI and make them a recruitment consultant. Yeah. Because it's the old garbage in, garbage out situation. If you're not asking the right candidate questions, you're not going to get to the key points and the key reasons why a candidate's changing jobs. If you're not taking the time to read the summary that's being produced by AI and just sending it out willy-nilly, then that's a major problem. It is very simple, very easy now. So let's suppose you've interviewed a candidate and Toby works in the construction sector. And it's very easy then to say, right, okay, I've got this quantity surveyor with skills in house building. Where can you name me companies within let's say, a 45-minute commute of, let's say, Buxton or Matlock? Because that embraces two major conurbations. It embraces the Northwest Manchester-based area, and it embraces the Sheffield and maybe even to parts of West Yorkshire. Now, it can come up with that. If you're using construction, and you link it to something like Barber or Glenigan's, which are projects produced, or they're a directory of projects. it can immediately identify the site managers of all those sites in the area or the key contracts. It then creates you a list. If you then cross-reference that list of companies created with your own CRM, you can see, do we have known relationships there? Yes, I do. I can send that one out. Or are there known clients but unknown projects, but we don't know the person, in which case that's traditional cold calling. So it can generate that much quicker. And the next slide I've got kind of just summarizing some of the reports that are flying around. And I'm more than happy to share these with people. But if you add up all of these, this is where I'm kind of getting to. You're looking at a total saving of between 20 and 30 hours a week.
Wow, which is a lot, isn't it?
That's a lot.
Yeah. It's more than half of your week, and that's just in the like you said, process productivity gains. That's not in the generation productivity gains either. So the candidate generation, the client generation. You just mentioned there a few ways that you can use AI to enhance your lead generation or your market mapping or your market knowledge as well. I remember. So as an aside, and I'm going to answer. There's a question in the chat from Robert, who's in South Louisiana. So hi to you. He's asking what AI note takers we are using. If anyone in the chat is using AI as well and you think it's a good one, please drop that in there. This is a great place to share them. We use Fireflies, which is one of them. And we also use Supernormal, which is one that I'm trying at the moment. And they're great. And they follow me around even sometimes when I don't know they're there. And I was running a coaching session with someone the other day, and there was my note taker and his note taker and a third note taker, and none of us could work out whose note taker it was. Just randomly invited itself to the meeting. I thought they're all going to start talking to each other in a minute, and probably taking over the conversation, which we will talk about a bit more later on. I remember when, and I mean, this is, sort of going back a few years now, but do you remember when sort of like Alexas and things like that came out?
Yes.
And my kids just got it in their heads they could ask Alexa anything, to the point where my daughter asked Alexa where her shoes were. And I remember thinking at the time, one day Alexa will answer you and tell you exactly where your shoes are, because that's where we're going from a technological point of view. But I think it's great to be able to use it to sit alongside you at your desk, ask it questions, get it to do jobs for you and tasks for you and things as well. I think, again, as recruiters, I just don't think we're embracing it like that, in almost in a childlike way. Like, what can I get out of this? What can I make it do next? And experimenting with it.
So one of my questions is, let's just say for a couple of minutes, if we accept that productivity gains of twofold are possible, the question remains then, and if you look statistically at the industry as a whole in the UK, so my apologies, Robert, I didn't come with data on the US market, although I could probably get that because I do have clients in the US. But if you just took the UK market, according to last year's figures, the UK employs around about 220,000 recruitment consultants. There are about 30,000 recruitment businesses. If you can improve productivity, the question remains, are we going to have more people changing jobs? Are we going to place more people in temp jobs? Or does that mean we're going to spread that fewer number of jobs amongst the same number of people? So is that economically sustainable? Over time, will the number of recruiters in the UK shrink? Will the number of businesses shrink? Here's one, that recruitment business owners need to think about. Are we giving tools to clients to make them and their internal recruitment teams more efficient and more effective at what they are doing currently than we are?
Yeah.
So I think the next 5 years is, you asked the question at the beginning to me, which is, what are the challenges that people are facing? And I think if you're a shrewd business owner, you'll have already got there about 3 or 4 minutes ago when I was talking about these productivity gains. And what I would be encouraging everybody to do is to reimagine what recruitment would look like in 5 years' time. And can we do things better? That's the thing for me. Are there going to be fewer consultants? Are the talent acquisition teams going to be more effective? So do we need to find new services and new offerings and new ways of working, and what is it that we are going to do and can do better? And without naming names, Joe, I have met 2 or 3 people in the last few months who are already doing that. They are reimagining what recruitment will look like, and they're already working on developing their business models. And it's fascinating to see how successful they're being. And and if I'm a candidate, can you give me a better quality of service using this tech? That's the question. And if I'm a customer, can you find the people? Can you get me better quality people?
Yeah,
So,
I think one of the things.
Last slide, really, because it's just about. I think we need to reimagine what recruitment looks like, and how are we going to deliver it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and I think that's the key point, isn't it? And I kind of revert back to one of the slides that you put up. I know we've got kind of this slide here. One of the slides that you talked about earlier, which was the qualities of us as human beings that probably can't be replaced by AI, and that actually as human beings, then we need to major on the human part of this, and recruitment, it is still a contact sport. I think a lot of those things that can be automated are things that we shouldn't be doing because they're automations anyway. It's the consultation, not the automation, that we can major on. And those are things like original thought, empathy, counseling, advising, improvement, streamlining, all those things that if we get rid of the automation side of it, or we push that, we outsource the automation, we can focus on the consultation, which here at iIntro, we're all about that. Our platform enables us to provide a greater level of consultation to clients and enhancements and improvements to their recruitment processes to make them more efficient and more effective at recruiting the right people. And we use technology to do that. But we use it in the right way. We use it where, I suppose, as humans, we have weaknesses, which allows us to then play to our strengths. So yeah, it might mean fewer, more consultants, but maybe we're moving, and I know that you're a big advocate of this anyway, Ian, I think we're kind of moving more towards that very consultative, additional services, sort of management consultant advisory piece anyway.
I think because this is the Retain Recruiter show, and because a lot of the people listening will be iIntro customers, my background was in permanent recruitment, and I started in the offline world many years ago, and it was very consultative, Joe. And I think what I'd like to share with the audience is something that another person I've had contact with, a guy called James Crawford, who is actually an AI technical project lead, and he is of the opinion that recruitment and the recruitment industry is going to be at the forefront of this change. And he gave me an example. If a company displaces and lets go or loses, let's say, 2 or 3 members of staff, they probably will no longer replace like with like.
Yeah.
What they'll probably look at and say is there are tasks that person A does, and there'll be tasks that person B does, and we can automate, let's say, 30, 50% of those tasks. So we've now got a new role for one person, which is made up of tasks that A did and B did, and we put them together. And then they'll think, oh, well, how do I get one of those? And that's the bit where we are experts. That's where your iIntro people who consult, talk to clients, who interview caliber candidates and know that, will be able to say, well, there's a sector of the market where you've got 3/4 of that job set, and there's another sector over here where you've got 2/3. And actually, what are the skills we can teach, and what are the behavioral competencies we need to be looking for? And I think that's where I would be challenging our industry to look, because what I've just described there is going to happen on scale over the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years. So the opportunity for us in recruitment to lead that and to fulfill and be a fundamental part of it is massive, but it needs us to reimagine what we do and how we do it.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got about 2 minutes left. I wanted to speak quite quickly. I think we've almost covered this anyway, but in your opinion, what do you think are the biggest challenges facing recruitment business owners at the minute as far as AI is concerned? I don't think they know enough about it. I think they need to get in and immerse themselves in it and find out what it's about themselves, not their staff. They need to get into it. Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. Any advice you give to business owners other than, sort of research and find out about it? How do you think recruitment business owners can embrace AI more?
I think out there is a disruptive model that is waiting to be unleashed on our market, and there's no reason why Robert from Louisiana or Kath Reynolds, I don't know Kath, can be the one that does that. It's about somebody reimagining and thinking outside the box. And oddly enough, I think somebody who's too immersed is probably too close to the coalface to see it. But let's wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, definitely. Now, look, I think that's been really interesting. There's lots of information. I mean, gosh, we could talk for this for hours and hours, and we've really, I think, just scratched the surface of this. For anyone who's listening and watching, if you want to contact Ian and ask him any questions, get some advice, just generally just chew the fat, I think, then please feel free to grab him on LinkedIn. There's a couple of comments in there. I just want to read one out. So Toby has put, using AI agents and automations, job roles can be broken down into smaller tasks, effectively fractionalizing roles. Absolutely. This allows teams and consultants to automate routine or operational tasks, freeing them to focus on high value strategic activities. Absolutely. As a result, AI and automation boost efficiency, enabling professionals to dedicate more time to tasks that require their expertise and consultation. And I mean, no recruiter wants to be seen like a CV vending machine anyway, do they? It's not what we came into the industry to do. We came into the industry to be professionals and advisors and specialists. So I love that, Toby. Thank you very much. Thanks, Kath. Thanks, Robert. Ian, thank you very much.
One more thing
before you go.
Consultation, not automation. You heard it first from Joe Gregory.
Yes, well, yes, absolutely.
That needs to go on the LinkedIn summary, Tina, wherever you are. So yeah, consultation, not automation.
Absolutely. And Tina is a real person. AI. Ian, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. It's really informative and insightful, and I love your slides. If anyone wants those slides, get in touch with Ian or myself, and we can make sure we pass those over. Ian, as always, we will have you on in a few months. We'll talk about this kind of stuff again. I think that's really important. Our next show is in 2 weeks' time, everybody. It's the 7th of November. I mean, frightening. Someone reminded me today, thanks, Dennis, it's scaring me to death. It is actually 2 months until Christmas Eve as well. So time is ticking on. But thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. Ian, as always, thank you very much for your time today.
Pleasure.
And take care, everybody, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.